Charles, I'm very interested in your meeting with Brock Pierce. Yeah, there's going to be a video about it, actually. I shot a video specifically for Brock when I was in Wyoming. I know Brock very well. I've known him for years, since the Bitcoin Foundation. He ran for the chairman role there years ago. He's a good guy. He's got a big heart, and I like his campaign. I'm so tired of the politics right now. I'm just so tired. Amy Barrett recently got nominated. She's written over 100 decisions as a judge, and she's an extremely smart legal scholar. She clerked for Scalia. Regardless of where your politics sit, there's a lot about this woman that takes some serious time to go through and work through to get to a point where you can actually have a credible opinion about it. And she has strong values and principles, but those are then reflected in her personal life. She has 7 children, 5 that are her own and 2 that she adopted. So you'd suspect that, well, okay, this person's nominated. Let's spend some time and actually try to get an understanding of what type of justice would she be. As far as I can see, I think she's a textualist, Scalia style. Okay. But the attacks coming her way are like, oh, she adopted 2 kids from Haiti, and because they're Black Haitians, she's a colonialist and racist, and perhaps the adoption was illegal. I mean, seriously, this is what's coming out of Twitter. How can we expect getting anyone, reasonable people in government, if this is how we treat people who come in? You're told when you are growing up, get an education, be a good person, get married, do a good job, follow the law, and rise to the top of your profession. So people do it. And then when those people are chosen to go and serve in government, now the game is every mistake that that person made, regardless of it's big or bad, or if it's even a mistake, let's analyze that and brutally attack them. And if we can't attack them, attack their family and question choices that they made. How many of you watched the horrible things that happened in Haiti 10 years ago and said, boy, I should do something? Very few people actually did anything. Some people opened their wallet and donated a little money, mostly to these corrupt charities. And then somebody wakes up and adopts people and chooses to spend a decade of their life raising children that aren't their own, who are in some of the worst positions in the world. Normally, where I come from, that's a good act. But apparently this is an act of racism and colonialism. And the people who propagate these theories are now chosen to go teach these things in our schools, our universities, and so forth. This can't continue. You're going to get lower and lower and lower quality in government, number one. Number two, the way we communicate with each other is no longer about what problem are we trying to solve, how are we trying to work together to solve a problem. It's how does my side get power from this? So let's say there's a fire. Normal human beings would look at a forest fire and say, how do we put out the forest fire? We now live in a political reality where we say, okay, who politically benefits from this forest fire? Should we put it out now or wait a week from now or 2 weeks from now? This forest fire in Wyoming, for example, there was a group of ranchers and others in the state who saw federal land on fire. So they went and said, hey, can we put it out? And the federal government told them, stand down. They were told not to put out the fire. We're going to go do that. And then the ineptitude and incompetence of the federal government there, they didn't do anything. And now there's a huge fire in Wyoming. It's destroyed, I think, 80,000 acres or something like that. It was literally Red Dawn. This is insanity. And then the response won't be, okay, how do we avoid this from ever happening again? It's going to be, how do we politically protect ourselves? That's the world we live in now. And everything is just so political and nothing makes sense. People don't even understand what institutions are supposed to do, like the judiciary, for example. Why do you have people appointed for life? Because they're not political operators and they're not subject to political pressure. So then why would you want to give those types of people legislative power? Because they alone would then be more powerful than any senator, congressman, or the president himself. And there's no accountability whenever they decide left or right. But apparently that's the judicial philosophy we have to have. And that's why we've gone from, when I was born, justices approved with unanimous consent, like Scalia was 98-0. Ginsburg, I think, was the same, like 97-3. It was not controversial at all. to now every single time we go down this road, it's 50-50, and we have to destroy someone's entire life before they get on. And then after they get on, talk about how do we impeach them when we're in power. And every single decision must be political in some way. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. So I'm done with it. I'm so done with it. I'm sick of the Republicans. I'm sick of the Democrats. I'm sick of the entire political reality. And you know what? They have been lying for so long. And every single time people have tried to follow the rules to change things, whether it be Ron Paul and his movement or Bernie Sanders and his movement, the system prevented those people from doing anything. You look no further to the 2012 Republican convention, how they just decided to arbitrarily change the rules of the convention to make sure that certain people weren't allowed to speak without any process. It doesn't even matter if there's rules. They just don't follow them. And let's look at how Bernie was treated on that side. So I'm done with it. And, you know, at this point, I'm never going to vote for a Republican or a Democrat again. I'm always going to vote third party. And I'm always going to support third party candidates. And if you believe that that's throwing your vote away, you're part of the problem. And any person that says this person shouldn't serve because their personal life has a demerit, I'm not going to listen to that person anymore. I'm done with it. I really am. The only way we can get forward is through solutions. You say, what problems are we trying to solve? For example, look at Voltaire. How did we structure that? We said, challenges. What do we want to solve? Where do we want to go? So you guys come and say, well, Charles, there's not enough marketing. Okay, I'm going to do what I can on my side to solve that problem. But you know what? There's now community funds available, and every few months, more and more and more. And at the current rate of inflation, $6 million a month will fill up the treasury. And if we go to $1, it'd be $60 million a month. That's community money. So stop talking about how nothing is being done. Let's talk about the solution. Where should we market? Who should we market to? Who should do that marketing? If you run a marketing firm, this is a way to get a contract to go do that. Go make the case to the community and solve the problem. We have to start thinking this way. We have to start thinking for ourselves. We have to start using common sense. We have to start working together and actually having common goals. We look to America or any of these other countries, we should have goals. Okay, vaccines are coming out. It should be non-controversial to discuss how do we distribute them to all the citizens. Instead, it's all political. Safe and effective. People say, oh, I don't believe it's safe and effective. Well, then tell me what the burden of proof is. And if you don't know it, tell me who does know it. Let's have a real conversation about that. Okay, but it's not acceptable just to say no and just leave things the way that they are. You have to say, what are we trying to solve? How are we going to get it done? And if that is not the way to do it, then tell me an alternative way. And if you can't, then let's go try it if you can live with it. Okay? It's not about consensus, it's about consent in that respect. And so it was really a breath of fresh air talking to Brock, because he's tired too. We're all tired. He's running around spending millions of dollars running for president. And if he accomplishes anything, just getting people into a mindset that we have to talk differently and treat each other differently. And he's never going to run a negative ad, ever. And we should never reward people for negative ads, because what are you accomplishing when you say, vote for me because the other person is so horrible? That's like saying you go and you get sick. You go to your doctor and you need a heart surgery. And there's like 2 doctors you could choose. And so, or let's say even more, like 5 doctors you can choose. Yeah, okay. And then you go one of them, those doctors, and you say, I need a heart surgery. And he says, you say to him, can you tell me your qualifications? And he immediately just says, Bob Smith over there, he was sued for malpractice 3 times. Like, honestly, this is where we're at in politics. You walk to this politician, you say, tell me what you want to accomplish. Like Andrew Yang, he says, AI and all this automation and these billionaires are eating us alive, and we need UBI, and here's why, and here's what it's going to do for society. Great. And people loved him for that. He wasn't allowed to participate because the system was rigged, but they at least loved him for that. Okay. Could you imagine how effective Yang would have been had they say, well, why should I vote for you, Andrew? Biden has dementia. Like, okay, what the fuck does that have to do with all the price of tea in China? I mean, it's like, come on, give me something real here. What are you going to do? What is your vision? What problems are you going to solve? And so forth. And our political system is like this. And now for the next month, we're going to go through hell. October is going to be horrible, absolutely horrible. We're going to have October surprise here, October surprise here. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a Donald Trump, Don Jr. sex tape at this point. I don't know. I mean, it's like so crazy what's going on right now. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to November 3rd. And here's what's going to happen. And this is what makes me so sad. Trump is going to declare victory, and Biden is going to declare victory. The votes don't matter. Both of them have basically said the election's illegitimate. Okay? So then it goes straight to the courts. But the courts are illegitimate now because that process has been perverted. Every state, there's going to be a lawsuit. Meanwhile, protests galore. Every city in America, tens of thousands of people burning things down, shooting at each other. And then the police crack down on them. And then there'll be a counter reaction to that. So we know we're walking into an event without legitimacy and blood. 100 million Americans who were eligible to vote did not vote in 2016. Probably the same amount or more for this election. We're not consenting to this. You know, we don't want this anymore, but we're told we have to. And if you have the audacity to vote for a third party, you're part of the problem. You're evil. So it's going to stop one way or the other. Either we're going to run out of money and fall into martial law and have a chaotic civil war, or somebody's going to get it through their head that we have to govern differently. And I'm optimistic for the second part, and I hope we can achieve that. But there are many people who have already given up and they believe it's the first part. That's my political rant for the day.